Hey everyone, welcome to the first podcast of the Yoni and Shimon show, the premier podcast for being up to date on all things Web3. So for today's podcast, we'll be discuss with Yoni his firsthand accounts of the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. So again, Yoni is the founder of Matchbox DAO. He's here giving his personal insight on the crisis currently. So Yoni, want to just introduce yourself quickly to the audience that'll be listening?
Hey everyone, I'm Yoni. I'm an entrepreneur and an investor in crypto since 2012. Currently, investing through my family office and running Matchbox DAO. Yeah.
Yeah, and my name is Ellis Osborne. I'm a student at Penn, interested in the intersection of Web3 and the society, the macro events such as Israeli-Palestinian crisis and how we can develop decentralized systems similar to what Matchbox DAO is looking to um, create with its infrastructure. So I guess we'll get started with what your perspective has been on the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. Can you kind of provide, first of all, some context for, I know you've been back to Israel. What is the actual firsthand perspective looks like? Can you give us the state of affairs in terms of anti-Semitism within Israel and on the front lines?
Yeah, sure. First, I want to talk a little bit about why I thought this topic is important because I think it's something that is happening, you know, like against Jews this time, but could happen also against other nations, and in general, when countries allow a hate to happen, it kind of allowing itself to grow. So I think in general, this progressive kind of policies that allows every opinion to happen is very dangerous, and we see it with every big institution in the United States and around the world, up to the point that the government doesn't have any control over the citizens, which could be very dangerous. You can see it in England, you can see it in the Ivy League universities. But yeah, we can speak about more about that later. But as for Israel, yeah, so when you are inside of Israel, you don't really see anti-Semitism, because Israel is, like the protector of Jewish, like that's the reason, that's the historical reason why Israel was established, to be the protector of Jewish around the world, because this is a nation that had been like chased by anti-Semitism since the like thousands of years, and after the Holocaust, where 6 million people were killed, the UN decided to give Israel. So when you're inside of Israel, thankfully there is like irony, because Israel is perceived as very risky place
Hmm.
in the world, but Jewish, you are more protected inside of Israel than outside of Israel. For example, in Harvard, there was some Jewish people that were hide in the library. So so even Harvard, it's more risky to Jewish people than Israel. So I would say currently is not does not feel risky,
Hmm.
because of the Iron Dome, and you just need to go to the shelter maybe every like two times a week or so. But I do think that that for Jewish people, Israel gets a new meaning, and and outside of Israel, it's starting to become risky, more
Hmm.
risky than inside of Israel, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah. I think in follow up to that, because you referenced it a little bit, I think Israel finds itself usually at the center of conflict in these anti-Semitic challenges, right? How do you think in conversation with free speech on one hand, and then like preventing future crises, how do you think the Israeli government and general society should be facing this issue to not have big anti-Semitic like surges in the future?
Yeah, I don't think there is a recipe because um, so are you asking specifically about the Palestinian Jewish conflict or in general?
No, just in
Or
general, because I think you kind of referenced it and it's an interesting topic, right? Like in America, we always have to teeter between what is free speech and what can, you can't yell fire. Like what qualifies as being good for society and a liberty, or are you just being destructive and hating other people for the sake of I have free speech to go and do that?
yeah, I think to be honest, since the dawn of time, like the only thing that stops power or bad power, like stops evil is more power. Like this is the only thing that actually stops terror from happening and so on. And you can see it in like it's funny, but the countries that are not democratic, some of them are more organized, but I'm trying to think about ways like to balance the two. Maybe
Yeah.
India is is kind of good at at balancing the two, but so first to answer your first question about anti-Semitism, I think anti-Semitism is there since the dawn of time, since 1500. In Italy, like in Venice, and like the only people that were allowed to make to give loans are Jewish people, because Christians it's kind of a sin. So that was the first reason why
You know
why
that.
Jewish people got anti-Semitism. And then like there was a lot of reasons. Some of the reasons were around Jewish people control the world meme, like because they are the main one to be like to be in finance and media, and it's still the case. Like the Harvard students are against the Harvard um, uh, endowment donors.
Yeah.
um, and you can see it's still the case. So that's one reason for anti-Semitism. And then the second reason for anti-Semitism is a lot of claims about conquer. That Israel. So specifically, so I think the first case for anti-Semitism, it will always be the case because it's kind of a network effect that Jewish people are, but it's not only Jewish people, but people like to pick on Jewish people. That many Jewish people in finance and media, and so it's kind of a good case for people that have problems in their life to find a scapegoat of who is who is responsible for their suffering. So I think that type will never end because it will always be like that people are looking to for someone to blame, and Jewish people are the easiest to blame. But when you're speaking about the conquer, specifically the Palestinian um, and Israel, it's kind of complex because the situation there is that in Gaza, the civilians are controlled by. So it's kind of impossible to discuss with a nation if the nation is captured by terrorists that only care about killing people and so on. So I think it will not sound like a cool opinion, but I think that the only way to make order is with power. So I think in all cases, the only way to control terrorism is with more power. If you have bigger brother that kind of stronger than you, and all the time you have the knife on your neck, like, and so you're not allowing yourself to do those things. The other side of those things is San Francisco. The other side of those things LA. Like you have aggressive opinions all over the place, and everyone think that human rights and everything is allowed, and so bad people are taking advantage of that. So I would say, yeah, like to summarize, I think anti-Semitism that is coming from like looking for a scapegoat will always be there unless there will be stronger like governments that take action. And anti-Semitism in the case of Gaza, like Palestinian and Israel, could be solved by really like taking out all of the terrorists and paying close attention for, it's like a cancer cells. Like you cannot allow one cancer cell to be in the body because it's kind of reproducing very fast, and very fast it's becoming a tumor, and then it's like all over the place. So I think the same thing is Hamas inside of Gaza, and the citizens are poor citizens. Like I'm pro Palestinian people. I'm not against Palestinian people. Like, but I think they are also miserable. It's not a Palestinian against Jewish. It's terror against everyone, basically. Like
Yeah.
normal people that want to live versus people that just want to kill other people.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Can you kind of talk about how the media misrepresents that? Because it's almost like we're talking about culture clashes when in reality it's people coming together against terror as a entirety, not like Israeli versus Palestinian conflict. Like in reality, yeah, there's the conquer argument, but it is kind of peace versus hatred, or in my opinion, from like someone who's not on the front lines, that's what it seems like. But the mass media is very polarizing and making it into a Jewish versus Palestinian.
Yeah, I think the mass media is for sale,
Yeah,
basically. Like the very rich countries are subsidizing Hamas, basically, to fight. One way it's using the money is through buying military equipment and defense and so on. But the other way is to sponsoring like both armies, and also sponsoring articles.
yeah,
So a lot of the things that you see are basically sponsored, like first social media. Like you have social media and mainstream media. Social media uh, um, trying to spread the meme that it's not between terror and peace, but rather between Israel conquer and the poor people of Gaza. They are using the people of Gaza as a shield
yeah,
for their deeds. And so what they're using the money, one is to buy massive amount of both armies that are automatically replying everything, like automatically replying everything with hatred and stuff like that, and fabricating a lot of videos and taking videos out of the context, like videos that have a completely different context. They are changing the context and saying that it's like the fault of the Jews. For example, there is this guy that is also like a fake news called Nawal something, and he have like 1 million followers, and he tweeted something like Israeli army is surrounding an ambulance, and the video was just an ambulance. So how did you get into the conclusion that there is an Israeli army involved, or the Israeli
yeah,
army against this ambulance? The only thing in the video was just an ambulance, and he took this video and put it. So I think there is a lot of warfare here,
yeah,
fake news, that capture the minds of millions and tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people, to think that to misunderstand the fight. Like the fight is between bad terrorism and just good people that are in both sides, like both Palestinians and Jewish, but they are making it look like it's between Israel and poor people that they are killing. And so I think like Israel needs much better PR on that sense, because they are spending tens or hundreds of millions of dollars for spreading this fake news. And I feel there is not a lot of investments from the Jewish side. So I think most of the public opinion is because of this warfare that is spreading fake news and so on.
Yeah. And again, you kind of talked about it in this piece, that last reference between what it means for a war to be not specifically against like cultures, but between people that are pushing hatred and terror versus peace. Could you kind of talk about the other side though? So people that are representing the peaceful argument, specifically within, if you know of any, like the Web3 community or within the realms of AI. I know that these are big topics right now in verticals that people are interested in. What are things that we could be replicating as well and other companies could be implementing to help, either spread real news or just make progress that'll be socially beneficial?
Wow, that's a very good question. Very good question. Like I've been discussing with a few Israeli startups that are doing something that is not related to defense and could be used to, I don't even think it's about helping Israel. I just think obviously about helping Israel because that's the subject matter. But I think that in the future we'll see more cases like that. Like so, it's about reducing hate,
Okay.
and it's about reducing fake news, because that's what causes a lot of people. So I'll give you two examples. Like one of my friends is building like for brands to basically working with bot armies, detecting bot armies, and creating bot armies,
Hmm.
um, and and he's doing it for advertisers, like because some advertisers are getting and it's very much related to crypto as well, like a lot of those bot armies that are farming airdrops and so
Yeah.
on, um,
Yeah.
users, right? Like they are doing things and so on. So in the case of media, those bot armies are being used to both reply and create content on mainly on Twitter, but also on other places like Facebook. And so that is one thing that comes to mind. Let me think. With AI, I think with AI, I need to think about it, but I think there is a lot about basically repurposing things that are for like commercial
Hmm.
to be used for defense cases.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that can help reduce this fake news is massive, because literally I hear like I have maybe 20 people DMing me every day asking me if everything is okay and
Yeah.
so on. So I feel like the real picture uh, will be uh, will be what people get. Like we won't see that protest like this amount of people that are protesting. A lot of those people are getting false information.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would not take the time. Like they seriously think that Israel is a state of killers. Like because there is a lot of money that is going toward fake news. So I feel that this all technologies that can be used for reducing this fake news is great.
Yeah. I think going back to your original point of there needs to be some sort of trade-off between free speech and almost like a larger party where there is some sort of power holding, you can get into some slippery situations like where you have labeling of false information. Like remember, I think on Twitter and stuff like that, right? Like what is
Mm.
your recommendation for um making sure that this power doesn't kind of
Objective.
hands? Yeah, it's so hard, right? Like and
Wait, what is the recommendation for how to make sure you're consuming an objective information? That's what you're saying, or?
yeah, and I think that, you know, a decentralized version of this information is potentially really powerful rather than putting into the hands of one person. I think that the power versus power argument is valid and it works, but of course, like you have historical evidence that sometimes it doesn't. Like you have like the Nazi Party, which just became huge, and it became like
Yes.
omnipotent.
Right, 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 right.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's cool. I think it's definitely an interesting um, topic that will likely be implemented within. I mean, it doesn't have to be Web3 specifically, but almost like a multi-detection information piece where you can add it onto social media and it'll be more accurate. I kind of wanted to talk to you about though, what do you think that other companies should be doing? So in the United States, for example, it's a hot topic, of course, but what are the like recommendations you would have for an American enterprise or someone that's a little bit distant that wants to get involved in the support? And do you think that there is in like a moral right to be engaging in the fight against terror, like as a company
Mm.
that's not really related?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good questions. First, let's first talk about the first question because it's equally important topic. What is potentially a way to make an objective news? This is a huge question. It's one of the biggest
Yeah.
questions of our time. Like how to create an objective media or content. This is, like completely hard topic. It's almost like going back in time in the in in how hard it is to create. Like that's a very like hard thing to do. I think that the people have the truth, the people, and incentives you can potentially make, encouraging people to say to tell the truth and not to tell a side, like one side or another side. um, if there was something like community notes
Hmm.
incentivized one way or another, that would be great, like a reputation system that is
Yeah.
um, kind of, like giving people more points as they are
Like
reflecting
meritocracy.
what, yeah, what is happening to them in real life. I think the people that will do something like that will literally win like like a peace Nobel Prize. So, but it's definitely something to think about. Like maybe it's something like an AI agent or something else. I don't know exactly how to measure truth.
Yeah.
Like I think a reflection, because even if you see something with your eyes, you can report it based on your biases. So it's kind of hard question to answer, but yeah, definitely need to think more about. The second one is equally hard. You ask what is the moral duty of like companies in the United States, for example, when it comes to reacting, like how to
Exactly.
stay. Yeah, like the question if it's kind of the role of the person or the role of the government, right? Like I think there are things that are objectively clear, objectively understood. Uh, for example, like to help people that were that are the victims, like the victims of both sides. people that were killed, people that got like I, for example, started the kind of call center for orphans, for people that became orphans as a result of the war. And because it doesn't matter who wins, kids doesn't have the, like, it's not fair that kids becoming orphans. Like, they didn't do anything. So I would say, like, the most obvious thing is to do those things, like to support people that are clearly in the middle of those things, and basically encouraging peace, not pick sides. I think that encouraging peace and focusing on solutions is something that is more productive than saying who is right and who is not right, because obviously it's not that easy. Like, you have the Israeli side that being suffered, almost 2,000 people died, and so on, and you have the other side that is a bunch of people that are locked by terrorists. And so both sides, and it's not very clear to understand who is the terrorist and who is the people. And so both sides is it's not very simple to understand. But as normal people, as civilians, and definitely as governments, I think focusing on arbitrating solutions and helping this situation to be resolved is probably the best thing that you can do as a foreign. Either to do the things that are obvious, like helping kids or helping
Sure.
widows or whatever, or to trying to spread peace and to be a counter to all of the hate.
Yeah. Okay. And then again, I think you've spoken upon what the actual underlying problems here with this crisis are. But as we look into the future, can you kind of tell me what your hopes and expectations are for the trajectory of not only anti-Semitism, but also the effort to obviously combat it? And this is in Israel and globally, but maybe you can start, because I think that what you were talking about, the initiative that you're running for widows and children who are unfortunately byproducts of war, and they have no say in it. And they're just, their lives can get destroyed because of something that they're completely detached from. So maybe you could start by talking about, I know you have a couple of initiatives that I've seen on Twitter, but also, like, what is the best outcome for this situation, and then what's like a likely outcome?
Yeah, so I think the one most important thing that everyone can do in order to avoid something like that is for Israel to make to know how to battle fake news better. Like, if the world will have better information, more objective information, it will solve a lot of the problem, because most of the funding is coming from, because they are getting the wrong information, and also most of the protests and the anti-Semitism is also coming from there. So I would say number one thing that startups in Israel and abroad can do in order to help this situation is building mechanisms that can help reduce fake news and help objectivize or make the information or the media more objective. I think that's kind of number one, like, thing to fight anti-Semitism. The second thing is reducing for governments, reducing the like, these policies that are very now became less trendy, but is very trendy in the last 6 or 7 years. All the progressive opinions, because that's good times you only have homelesses. In bad times you have terrorists, like when you are encouraging everyone to do everything and so on. So I think one is to build systems that are, fighting false, like false news, and encouraging like truth better. The second is for government to be less progressive and more kind of strong, because if there is rules, like there is less crimes. You can see it in Dubai, and you can see it in Singapore and other places. And the third thing is for big countries to help resolve the Israeli-Palestinian issue, because on the one hand, they all care. They say, oh, we care, like all of the news outlets and so on. But when it's not a war, no one care, and especially no one care about the Palestinian side. Like it's basically 2 million people that no other countries is accepting, and no other countries is like. So I think to help resolve this situation and arbitrate in the middle could also be very helpful. But for people like us, just building stuff, I would say the most important thing is to support and build kind of tools and technologies that are making objective information and basically taking out false news.
Okay. Yeah, I think this was a fantastic conversation in which we covered, centralization of media, what the role of fake news has, especially as like an underpinning for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But also, this is more than just two cultures clashing or a fight over Concord. Like, is this a religious space for many, many cultures? And it's obviously a timeless issue. But I think your perspectives as a first person living and experiencing this in Israel is invaluable and spreads kind of a glimpse of hope that we will be able to collect more objective information in the future and get more of a holistic viewpoint rather than trying to absorb information across like seas, for me, for an example. But yeah, this was a great conversation, and it's an awesome experience to be able to interview Yoni and
Thank you, Alice.
to get this podcast series off the ground. So let's
Amazing.
to the next one.